Hi everybody, good afternoon. So we are just looking for more people to join and then we'll continue with the webinar. We just want that everybody joins in so nobody misses it. So let's just wait for a minute and then we can start. A lot of people have already joined in, so which is a good thing.
Yeah, we'll just wait for another 2-3 minutes and
Okay, so just a brief for everybody who has joined already. As we did the last webinar and we got a lot of inquiries and people found it very interesting and informative. So we decided to do this on a regular basis and bring another webinar to you by Ms. Shireen. So today we will be, because as the earlier webinar, it was entirely generic about all the ways that you can go for in terms of Canadian immigration. But today we'll be covering a specific aspect, which is express entry, right? So we'll
right,
be talking about that
focusing
and
on express
how
entry.
you can take that way to migrate to Canada. So I think already a lot of people have joined. So I think Mishireen, let's start with it as the time is
Yeah,
also there.
right.
So it's over to you, please.
Yes, surely. So, hi everybody. Thank you for joining. As you know, we've been conducting this webinar now. This is the second round of this webinar, and we are really excited because it's just so there is so much of gap in this potential market where I feel that people are not rightly aware of the kind of. It's a simple program, though Express Entry is the basic Canadian program, but still there are so many things that are not being covered properly. People don't understand how they can increase their CRS, then they are wrongly trapped in wrong immigration programs via which they want to immigrate to Canada. But sometimes the simplest, easiest option is just in front of you and you are just not looking at it correctly. So the intention of today's webinar is to guide and maybe not get into a lot of details, but highlight some of the basic details of how express entry system work, what are the key factors, what is the category based draws that have recently come in, what are the selection factors for that, and just how this whole express entry documentation, etc. In between I will keep giving some tips that I have in my experience gained and with some of the case laws that have happened. Just a legal insight that you will get. Of course, I can't delve into a personalized solution for anybody via the webinar. For that you might need to take consultation, but still you will get a good idea by the end of this presentation that some of the information of the express entry system that can help you and you can actually do it on your own. It will be simplified for you. So without wasting much of the time on this, we'll start with the presentation, and with each presentation with each page I will keep explaining as well about it, so you will have good idea on that. So Sunidhi, can we share the presentation? So as you know that today's topic is about Canadian Express Entry Stream. It's according to me, it can be your ultimate guide if you understand the basics of it. And that's the intention of this whole webinar, right? To guide you through the express entry. Maybe we can move to the next slide, Sunidhi. At Ace Law, we are a tailor-made solution providing law firm. We have our offices in Dubai and in Toronto, Mississauga. We are in both the places. We are working on immigration, specifically all the immigration applications, be it your investment migration, be it skill migration, sponsorship applications, different kind of applications. And personally, I do a lot of federal court work when you are refused a visitor visa or work permit, any kind of refusal you're facing. So we do judicial review. Sometimes people have, they make a small mistake in the form and the government bans them for 5 years. This is called misrepresentation. Maybe you did not disclose an information in the past. So I try to fight that as well as much in the court. And that is also one of our fortes. We try to give a tailor-made solution. With that, we have expertise. We have gained expertise over the period of time, and that is the three-way approach that we take like in our programs is that in our solutions is we give you an in-depth knowledge as per your profile with diverse capabilities, that is that we can cater to all kind of applications when it comes to Canadian immigration. And then we also do personalized strategies, because not many a times, and by the end of the presentation you will see some examples wherein I will show you that what kind of candidates are eligible now for express entry, and what kind of candidates, even though they have high potential, but because of this cutoff system, this this whole immigration system getting so tight, it's becoming there are alternative routes to Canadian immigration that you might want to look into. That's a little about me, and of course I already gave you my introduction. By the end of this webinar you will also receive the presentation, and then you can also go over it. Then we can have the next slide, Janidhi. Okay, then we have there are three ways to resolve a complex issue in terms of Canadian immigration. First is you identify the issue. Second is if there is any judicial interpretation already done in that matter, then you look into it, and that is what will lead to a positive outcome. So basically, complex issues, simple issues, sometimes made complex, simple issues in immigration can be turned into complex issue by just one careless mistake. So that is why we always try to give some knowledge and educate people on what kind of application you need to fill and how to go about it. Then we have the topic for today. It is express entry, and this is going to be a comprehensive overview. Let's talk about the Canadian express entry system. So basically what the program is all about is that in 2015 these applications of permanent residency, Canadian government wanted a proper process of saying that where can we find all the skilled labor which are going to bring economic benefit to Canada. So express entry is a form of economic immigration, wherein the Canadian immigration will see that what kind of economic gaps this country has and where we need to fill in. So the express entry is gonna be divided into three parts, which is federal skill worker program, federal skill trade program, and Canadian experience class. Today's focus is gonna be on FSW, because a lot of people, 90% of the people qualify for FSW, can qualify for FSW. And I'll tell you one more interesting thing here is that people think that there is a comprehensive ranking score, that today my score is 300, 350, I am eligible for express entry. No, there are 2 point based system. First is the FSW 67, in which you need to be eligible, that is the 67 on 100 factor. That is what you need to do, that is 67 on 100, and I will tell you that how we will calculate that later. But that is based on 6 factors. First is the age, second is the language, third is the your skill transferability, fourth is your education, fifth is your adaptability, and sixth is your education, age, adaptability, and I think I missed the sixth one is basically the skill, the joining of the English exam with your education. That is another part of skill transferability. So these 6 factors are going to determine your selection criteria. Okay, we can move to the next slide. So benefits of express entry, as you can see, of course, it is supposed to be the fastest way of immigrating to Canada. And once you are immigrating to Canada via this route, you can see your processing times as well online. You can check that, it's all there. Depending on the country from where you're applying from, it will really vary. It is a flexible pathway in the sense that you can choose the kind of skills and experience what best fits you, how you can qualify, you can see how you can increase your CRS, and that is why it's a point-based system. Then we can move on to the next slide. This is all general benefits. Right, so now we have, it's a so what happens is in the express entry system, once you qualify for that 67 points on 100 points, second is the SEP of comprehensive ranking score, and that is the point-based system the Canadian government will judge you on. Now they will put you in a pool with that CRS based on the 6 selection factors that we will discuss in detail later, and those selection factors will determine that whether in the next round of invitation your profile will be picked up or found not picked up. If it is going to be picked up, obviously there is a predictability also going on, that what the cutoff last was, what the cutoff now can be. And in that 2 weeks, maybe it's, if it's regular, it's bi-weekly, but it's not regular, like the last draw happened in April 2024. So maybe it's not, right? So that will depend. So the point based system is basically putting you in a point pay out of the 1200 points that you right now the cutoff is 525, but there are 600 core and 600 adaptability factor points. So that 1200 points will determine, out of that point will determine how your profile will be selected. If you closely monitor express entry draw, you can also have a strategic timing of placing the file when you put the file in the pool. But remember, before putting the file in the pool, everything from your end, because the information you give out in that pool's profile is gonna be determining what documents you submit on invitation. So make sure that that is matching, because a lot of time files are returned, and IRCC is very, very, very strict approach when it comes to returning of the file of express entry. They don't listen to any if and but on that. Of course, there are when you come through the Federal Skill Worker program, there are a lot of opportunities, and that is what that slide spoke about. Now let's come to the sorry Sunidhi, I think we missed one of the slides. Okay, opportunities. Okay, so eligibility for express entry, as I told you, will depend on various factors. There is skilled work experience, there is educational credential, there is language proficiency, there are turning points, or there are points for age given to you. Then there are points if you are applying with a spouse or without a spouse. That is also something we will discuss. Then of course, proof of funds at all times need to be maintained. If your proof of funds need to be maintained even when you're applying for the file, your proof of funds need to be maintained even when the IRCC gives you PR. And those funds, as I will explain you in the proof of funds section as well, what kind of funds are eligible for proof of funds as well. The express entry profile is system. You create a profile, you come in the pool, the CRS will determine what kind of this thing selection can be there. There will be a pool of candidates. Now category based draws are also there, so we will have to see. Single and married people have different points based system, and this express entry, when it was started in 2015, this was the intention behind that. Single and married people, because you are bringing more people with you to Canada as your dependents, of course your points become little less, because as per Canadian government, if you are single, if you are educated, if you are fulfilling all those criteria, then basically you are doing the correct, you are the correct candidate for their labor market, because Canada already has a lot of aging population. Sorry, I just want to fill in one thing here before we move on to the next slide, is that the lowest CRS happened in it was in May 31st 2017, and the CRS then was 413. On April 23rd 2024, there was the CRS, which was from April 23rd we have the latest draw, which is the draw number 294, and now that was the cutoff was about the number of applicants issued was 2095. So yeah, we can move to the next one. So as I told you, the CRS, sorry Sandeep, yeah, after this. No, but I think before this, sorry. Yeah, I want to check the page of the comprehensive just before this. Yeah, the comprehensive ranking system is a point-based system, as I told you, and it will be divided into 1200 point skill. So core points are 600, additional points are 600. Now, if you have available job offer, nomination from a province, a brother and sister living in Canada, now there's a very common myth that people think that no, you are not exactly, the sibling can be a Canadian citizen and outside Canada, then you won't get points. The sibling has to be inside Canada, living in Canada with Canadian ties. So that is when you get the additional points for the sibling, which is in CRS, you get 15 points for that. If you have French language skills, of course it is gonna benefit you in every way. Maximum points language can give you is 24, but if you know both the languages, then it is 24 plus 4, and this I'm talking about the 67 out of 100 criteria. Okay, then we can move on to the next one. Yeah, the factors that are considered, as I already said, as age, education, language, work proficiency. Then next, Sunidhi, arranged employment, adaptability, transferability skills. So these are the core points which are gonna age. If you are between 20 to 30, it is the maximum age that you are going to get. 20 to 30 applicants are given the maximum score. With after a certain point of after 35, your age starts to get, the point starts to get 1 point is negated every year. So you can imagine the kind of negation happening in that points, because age is a very crucial factor. Okay, education. Yes, education is also something. Now, when you have a dual degree, you have a master's degree, all this really depends. But see, a lot of people have master's degree, dual degree, post-secondary degree, international degrees, but those are not ECA qualified. It's very important your degree has to be ECA recognized. That is, their educational credential evaluation is done, and that educational credential evaluation is confirming that yes, your degree is master's. In case so many times people think that their degree is master's degree, but it doesn't come out to be in the ECA. Now there are about 5 main bodies, general bodies, who are doing the ECA. You must have heard of WES, IQS, and all those other bodies. But there are also 2 professional bodies doing ECA, which do degrees for doctors, qualified doctors, maybe who are surgeons, those kind of degrees that are needed. Those 2 organizations are doing it. When it comes to education, you also have to keep in mind that supposedly, now you will understand how the point-based system works, is that when you have the language exactly, that is the CLB 9 or the NCLC French exam, that is 7, then either of the two, then your dual degree points plus your language points makes it 50. But even if you don't have one, like you don't have CLB 9, that is the importance of language as well. If you don't have CLB 9 but you have a dual degree, you will have minus 25 in that points. Immediately, if you have a master's degree and you have CLB, if you say you have a CRS score of CLB 9, then also your 25 degrees, because the perfect combination is a dual degree plus CLB 9. That's the maximum, the 50 points that you can gain. Now, dual degree also has a lot of things to look into, that one of the degree has to be 3 years or more, and the other has to be a post-secondary degree. So there is a lot of details that we can go on and on, but this is just going to give you a generic overview. When it comes to language, as you can see, the language for French and English, maybe the PT, there are 3 now: IELTS, CELPIP, and PT. Best is the CLB 9, which is, and the minimum that you need is a 6 in each to make the profile value, to even create the express entry profile, which is CLB 7. Maximum points language can give you is 24 in the FSW plus a 4 of additional second language. Then we can move on to the next slide. Right. So the work experience is an adaptability factor. Maximum points in the FSW this can give you, which is sometimes the most commonly known as the LMIA. Do you have an LMIA job offer? It can give you, out of the 100, it can give you maximum 10 points. And if you for example are already having a job offer, then you don't need to show proof of funds also, but you can still show 2000, 3000 basics, right? But there is no requirement if you have a valid job offer, because then they assume you won't be a burden on the Canadian government. Yes. So now we have adaptability factors, as I said. Now spouse factors are also adaptability factors. The spouse can increase 30 points, and it will depend on the spouse education, language skills, spouse language plus education skill transferability points. So it will be a mix of many things, but the maximum points a spouse can give you is 30 points. Okay, Sunidhi. A close relative in the FSW will give you another 15 points in the CRS, and in FSW like 5 points, which is a good point, because in that you just need 67. First you have to be eligible for FSW, that's 67, and then you have to calculate your CRS. Employment, arranged employment, as I already told, maybe you have employers who are supporting you and giving you job, you have job offer from province, then maybe you are province nomination. So depending on your profile and varied solution, arranged employment will give you a skill transferability, adaptability points. By doing any of these three things, you are able to improve your CRS score. Okay, we can go next. Yeah, now let's move to the proof of funds. As I said, the proof of funds is a very crucial factor in Canadian immigration, and it's looked into very stringently as well. Proof of funds is, there is a table which we can see next page. Maybe Sunidhi, if you can just navigate us to the next page. Yeah, this is a full proof of fund chart, and this is required depending on the family size. Now, as I told you, if you have a valid job offer which is valid at the time of submitting your express entry, as well as IT, as well as when you get your PR, the job offer is valid for you, then you don't need to show proof of funds. The proof of funds cannot be in the form of real estate or any kind of asset which is not liquidable. Even if your spouse is coming with you, you can use the joint accounts as well, but you have to show that you have access to that joint account money, like you are able to access that money. When it comes to this proof of funds, it is also important to note that the way you are presenting the proof of fund, the letter, the draft, the document that you are giving has to come from the bank directly. And how that letter is addressed is another webinar on documentation that we can do. But yeah, it is definitely not real estate equity or anything. It has to be in the form of unencumbered debts as well. So we can move next. Yeah, so this is very interesting. In April 2020, in January 2023, actually, the minister had a mandate wherein they say that, okay, now we are, as we have the discretion in IRCC to issue some category-based draws. Now, these categories are those categories in which Canada is actually lacking labor shortages. It depends on your skill, it depends on your educational background, depends on your experience, that these draws are now going to, and they have conducted already so many rounds of category based draws. Current express entry categories are basically language, high demand occupations, just whatever the IRCC feels that they need these kind of people, the skills they need, maybe they need tech people. But when it comes to category based draws, they have taken out 5 categories plus an additional 6th month on the language proficiency. Now you already must have heard that what kind of draws are required. Then there is, even if you are, for example, in a healthcare occupation, all you need to show is 6 months of past experience in the last 3 years of continuous 6 months, and that is what is required in experience also. In experience, you require, when you take points for foreign experience in FSW, you need 1 year of full-time work experience. Paid internship is also counted. But what is not counted is your unpaid or volunteer work. If you are not 1 year full time, 2 years of part time is also good to claim experience points in Canada, and that full time means 30 hours as per Canadian standards per week. Okay, so Nidhi, we can move on to the next. Yes, these are the category based draws. These are already this is all the legal part of it. That legally economic goal was the minister said that they want to sorry Sunidhi, yeah, for 1 minute. This was the goal of that there is some kind of stakeholder consultations done, and there are provinces which require particular draws like transportation. Healthcare is really right now at the peak where people really want to move to Canada as well. Canadian government wants healthcare people, that is why the healthcare draws. So different responses, different labor shortages are giving us different kind of category draws. In future, they can also have country based draws, they can also have region based draws. They might want to take people from a particular country, and Canada is eligible to do that. Already some provinces are doing that as per their mandate. They are trying to take people from a particular country and trying to avoid people from a particular country. Yeah, you can go next. These are the number of round of invitations already issued, as well as what you need. 6 months continuous work experience in previous 3 years in targeted occupation within designated category. This does not need to be your primary education, must be accumulated in single occupation. You can go ahead. Now let's see one of the example here. This cool guy is 28 years old. He's single. He's masters in physics. Now he knows English at CLB 9 level. His age, every point you can see is very good for him. He's an ideal candidate of what express entry round could have been. But what category based draw has done is, if you can share us next slide, Sunidhi, then you will know the CRS for him. Yeah, the CRS for him is 489, right? So 489, just because he's right now, if the pool had been general draws, then maybe his profile would have been picked up. But right now, because of the category based draws, this is what it has done. Even an ideal 28-year-old candidate with a peak English language test result is not filling in the category, because there is the category based draws is also picking up, and they are also prioritizing those categories from the pool of candidates. So even if the government has to pick up 500 people from the express entry pool system, then out of the 500, if the 400 are already filling in particular categories, then his competition is with those 100, and that is why it's tight. Next example, please. Okay, then we have candidate 2, who is a francophone overseas applicant with no English. Now see the power of this francophone francophone category. He does not have LMI, no relative, 3 years of work experience, never been to Canada, knows French at NCLC 9 level, and knows English only at CLB 6, has ideal education and age. So let's check the CRS for this. So this candidate is 523, and that is why the French draws, they are coming so regularly as well, because there are many candidates with this kind of level, and Canadian government wants to balance the English and French speaking level. Right now there are only certain regions in Canada which have focused on French, but French is also the official language of Canada. So that is why I think they are encouraging francophone people. Now, this is an overseas applicant with no French and 3 years of foreign experience, master's law, and 29 years of age, is single, and has done master's of law in England. Okay, so good. The CRS is 481, because even though there is no French and CLB is 10, still it's not fulfilling in the category, and that is sad actually, because a lot of people were focusing a lot on their English exam, and because of this category based draws, such people have faced some issues, and now they have, even if they try to, maybe they can try to find a job offer, or nobody can create relatives, of course, but you can find a job offer, you can try to increase, but maximum increasing, I think she's already on the maximum of what was in her hands. Only thing is learning French now. Yeah, so you can move. So benefits, there are certain benefits also to the category based draws, because there's a target selection. They are targeting the kind of criteria. At the end of the day, Canadian government has to see what is good for them, not what is good for the world, right? I mean, you might feel disheartened about it, but they need to manage and balance. They have created a lot of imbalance between immigrants and the infrastructure and the economic policies. Now they need to balance it, and this is a good way. I always feel that targeted selection of candidates is a good way. Even in the future, if it comes to country specific, it's not a bad thing, and nobody should take it like personally, because the Canadian government has to see what is good for the Canadian environment. It's a response to change, which is good. That means they are actually responding to a lot of changes. Sorry, Sunidhi, last slide. Yeah, transparency and accountability is there, because you can clearly see the number of round of invitations on the website. What is the CRS? What was the last CRS? You can even strategize your express entry profile based on that. And equitable opportunities, category based draws is actually giving equitable opportunities, which were lacking behind. Right now the students are so many students in Canada that they're discouraging students, right? And because students need jobs to survive, so this whole system eventually will create some balance in Canada, and that is the need of the hour. Yeah. Okay, now let's see that after you have created your express entry profile, your CRS is good, it is selected. Next is you will receive an ITA. You will get 60 days to submit all the documents once you get the ITA, and then you have to wait for the decision depending on your country or visa office where you have applied your file. Usually files will go to IRCC, Ottawa, IRCC, Edmonton, IRCC, London. So it will depend on the kind of country you're applying from and the processing time. Outside Canada, I've usually seen is 8 to 9 months right now. Okay, we can move to next. Once you have approval of your permanent residency, you become a landed. You have to do a soft landing. You get a time period in which you have to do your first landing. Now, if do your first landing, collect your PR card, do everything. Want to come back, come back. But remember, in 5 years, there is 2 years of stay that you have to do inside Canada, and that is when you are eligible for renewing your permanent residency. And in 5 years, you also have to complete 3 years in order to be eligible for citizenship. These are some of the frequently asked questions, and we will now open the floor maybe for everybody to ask any questions in the question box, and I will try to answer that as much as I can. If we can't, you can book a consultation, or one of our team members can get in touch with you.
So, Ms. Shireen, there are a lot of people who are asking questions, and most of the questions are based on LMIA. So, I think people want to know how LMIA works.
Okay, so LMIA is basically a process in which the Canadian employer gives you a job offer, via which you, depending on the NOC code, maybe I forgot to tell you about the NOC code, NOC O, A, B, or C. Depending on the profile, you will get that job offer, and based on that, you claim the LMIA points in your express entry. So LMIA is something, the arranged employment. If you are applying for a senior position, which is a double knock position, it is giving you 200 points. But if it is any other position, it is giving you 50 points.
Also, somebody is asking what is the expected CRS score for the next draw for healthcare? And a lot of people have asked specifically about the healthcare department.
Right. So the healthcare, so healthcare right now, I think last was about 490, and it depending on the number of people in the pool who have applied since the last draw, I don't expect it to go anywhere less than 490, because obviously people, when they get to know about a program, they try to fill in a lot of applications, and once they do that, then the CRS somehow remains the same, because you have to match the cutoff. And if two people are applying at the same for the same cutoff, like two people in the pool are at 490, then the one who submitted the application before on the date and time will be shortlisted.
Okay, I think because there are a lot of people who are asking questions, so what we can do is, as we have provided them our email ID, all the people who have registered, they already have the email ID, and they can email us on info@ace-law.ca with their inquiries. Also, our number is also available on all our social media handles, so they can give us a call or WhatsApp us, and then we will get back to them.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good actually, because I know there are a lot of questions, but we can't take up all the questions. So in general, if you want to get in touch with us, reach out to us at info@ace-law.ca, and we'll see you guys in the next webinar. Thank you for attending.